Good morning and welcome to this Hutt Valley Chamber of Commerce business live stream. These live streams are part of our COVID recovery program that we're putting together to support businesses through the challenges of COVID-19 over the next 12 months. This is about ensuring our entire business community is getting all the support that they can, all the support that's available, and that we wrap as much support around every single business that we can reach over the next 12 months to help us all get through the challenges that lie ahead. So this 12-month program is part of our COVID-19 Hutt Valley support team, which includes Hutt City Council and Upper Hutt City Council. So this morning, we've got a really good guest with us this morning, is Mark Skelly, who's Director of Red Hot. Morning, Mark, nice to see you.
Helen.
Morning, Mark. Mark is also a bronze partner with the Hutt Valley Chamber of Commerce, and with his partnership funds that he provides to the Chamber, we run quarterly business confidence surveys. And so this is a really good way for us to, take a good temperature of what's happening out there and adapt our services and our service offerings and find more support for businesses. Also an opportunity for us to ask other questions around topics of importance. Of course, in recent quarterly confidence surveys, we've asked a lot of questions around COVID-19 and the impact it's having on business. So this live stream is about sharing some of that information with you so that you can also make decisions in your companies about based on what's happening out there in our local community as well. We use these results also to engage with government to encourage them to provide more support into the Hutt Valley business community, whether that's funding. And we'll talk a little bit later on one of the programs that we're involved in to get funding into local governments. So Mark, welcome this morning, and let's discuss some of the findings we've got in the survey that finished in the early July. So it's very latest information, and I'm sure everyone will find that really useful. So the first topic we've got is, let's talk about actual business confidence, Mark. Let's have a look at the figures we've got in front of us around where people are feeling in terms of New Zealand, where it's going in the next 3 to 6 and 12 months, and where Wellington's going, and their confidence around their own business. So shall we start with business confidence?
Let's do that, yeah. And look, there's no huge surprises here that confidence is low. People have been shaken, and we're still in that recovery phase for most businesses in most sectors. So we'll discuss the numbers in a second, Helen, but I think the bigger picture is, and it's something we've been talking about a lot in the Chamber, is that there isn't one business sector out there. So whilst we're going to talk about some numbers here that group all of the business community and business sectors and industries together, what's really important that we all recognise is that there isn't one business community out there. There's actually a collection of many business communities, and some parts of those business communities are doing really, really well in this environment. Some are really struggling, and others are in the middle, either figuring it out, still beginning to recover, or getting back to some form of sort of pre-COVID normality. So it's really important that we all, as business owners, remember that we're not looking at one single set of results. We're looking at some averages, and that they're going to be different in different spaces and different in your industry versus somebody else's.
Yeah, that is really important. And you can see that in the people who actually take the time to complete the survey, the breadth of industries that respond and the different experiences they're having.
Yeah. And something that I found really interesting for this survey particularly was that 88% of the respondents had been in business for more than 6 years. So you know, I've got hundreds and hundreds of people that have access to the survey, and of those that reply. We're not talking about the younger, newer businesses that maybe haven't been through some storms before, that haven't had these shake-ups. We're talking experienced businesses. We're talking businesses that have been through challenges, weathered their own storms in the past. And so the feedback, I think, it's important we see that it's got that context. It's got it's not their first rodeo.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, and I think you can see that in some of the results, can't you? Really? So. Yeah. So shall we start with business confidence in New Zealand as a country?
So, well, you're pretty close to the numbers, Helen. Why don't you take through the numbers, and then we'll have a talk about it.
Yeah, sure. So what we normally ask when we ask about business confidence, we ask about in New Zealand, we ask about how they feel about confidence in Wellington and how they feel about confidence in their own business. Really interesting with these figures across all those parameters is that if you ask about how confident they are, normally you would report on lack of confidence. But actually, when these numbers are so skewed to a large lack in confidence, that it's actually easier to see the picture when you look at those fewer businesses that are actually feeling good about where they're at right now. So if you ask a question like, how confident you are about the New Zealand economy, only 10% of the people who we surveyed actually see things improving. So in the next 3 months. And so that is really telling. So 54% say that it's going to get worse, but about 40%, a little bit less than 40%, say it's going to be the same. And it's hard to know what the same is like at the moment until you see some later questions.
Is same we're doing okay coming out of this, but it's not great, or is same things are bad? We're expected to carry on. Yes, it's a good point.
But some later questions give you some context around what people are experiencing right now. And they're certainly experiencing increased costs, decreased revenue, and decreased profitability. So you can assume that same is not good. So if you look in a 3-month window about people's confidence around New Zealand's economy overall, only 10% see that getting better. It improves as you move out in time periods. So 22% see some improvement in 6 months, and 42% see improvement in 12 months. So
that's not a huge surprise, is it? That lack of uncertainty in terms of what might happen next, how secure are our borders, what's going to happen with the world and global economy, still in that really shaky space. I think it's telling, isn't it, in this pattern of increased confidence the further we go out, is indicative of business owners and the business mindset that we'll get things under control and we'll make things better. Even if there's no evidence to support that belief, it's a ongoing trend in all our surveys that we see. No matter where we are, it'll get better.
Yeah, I mean, business owners who are determined to get through a challenge certainly feel positive. Entrepreneurs are generally quite opportunistic and positive about where they're going in the future. When you ask questions on where business sees the Wellington community or economy going, they see a better picture for Wellington rather than the country. Still low, still not good, but so 14% see Wellington improving in a 3-month period, and but over 12 months it's mirrors more about what's happening in the country. So you get about a 40% seeing improvements in Wellington in the next 12 months. So maybe they feel we're going to have some buffer in the short term, probably because many of the businesses here in the Wellington region have some connection into government in some way, so more than in other areas. So you certainly see that in terms of
it's not a direct connection. Their clients have got a connection, or their customers have got a connection to government in some way. I totally agree.
Yeah. So the next question we ask around confidence is around how you see your own business improving in the next 3 to 6 months. Now, I don't have all those stats in front of me, but once again, we see another improvement here. So businesses will back their own ability to get through this. So 31% and 28% see their situation being worse in the next 3 to 6 months, and 19 and 32% expect it to be better. So the numbers are evening up a bit more in there, and in 40%, in 12 months, 40% see improvements in their own business.
Yeah, it's interesting. One of the things that I've noticed in a lot of business owners lately, and certainly in a number of our clients, that the definition of success has temporarily changed. So certainly 2-3 months ago, not losing too much in a month would have been success. And now it's we're breaking even, and that's okay. We can live with breaking even for a bit. We're not profitable to any large extent, but that's okay because we can see it getting better. The trend lines are going the right way, and so that's really interesting that confidence around our own results as business owners. I think indicative that there's more confidence as we look further out, but also the expectations have shifted temporarily.
Absolutely. Many businesses mentioned to me about they're happy to break even. They'll be happy to get back to break even. And certainly in later questions, you can see the impact of decreased revenue and decreased profitability coming through really strongly. So, so now they're just happy to get through it as opposed to being shut down.
And it's shown, I think, also in the increasing number of businesses that are moving their staff back to 100% of their pre-COVID wage. So those businesses that had needed to reduce wages to 90% or 80% or in some cases even 70%, in many cases now putting them back up to 100%.
Sure.
And it was interesting in terms of confidence. Just a little story. There was in terms of how people are thinking. One of my clients has just moved their staff back up to 100% recently. And as they were discussing that with staff in terms of where things are at and the results, and really being open with their team in terms of where the business is at and the financial position, and had discussed the fact that they'd had to put money into the business over the last few months to keep it going. One of the wives of one of their team members asked, "Are you going to prioritise paying yourself back before you increase the team's wages?" And of course, my client's answer was no, and that hadn't even entered their mind. Their team, making sure their team were looked after and their team's families were looked after was the most important thing for them, which I think is really typical of so many, if not the vast majority of business owners. But it was just interesting that there was still that pessimism that the business owner might put themselves first rather than their team, whereas my observation is it's almost entirely the opposite.
Yeah, it's interesting also. So in our surveys recently, we've been asking business owners specifically about what are some of their biggest challenges at the moment. And during COVID, over 30% of business owners were not paying themselves. And that hasn't changed as much as you might have, some people might expect. In this survey, 23% of business owners are still unable to pay themselves.
Yeah.
So, that brings all sorts of stress, doesn't it, on families of business owners, on the business owner, and certainly many of them have borrowed on their houses or in some ways to get through this challenge that we are in the middle of. Well, we're starting really. Yeah.
That's interesting, isn't it? And it talks, I think, to the misconceptions that people who aren't in business have about business. Certainly politicians have this, the media has this, and people who aren't business owners, there's this perception, and we joke as a chamber that people think that a chamber meeting must be oak panelled rooms with 65-year-old males smoking cigars and looking at their piles of money. And it just couldn't be further from the truth. And this is other evidence that the vast majority of business owners are out there working their butts off. They're taking the risks and they're putting the business first. And often putting the business first means putting the team first to ensure that when things pick up, the team is there, the team are thriving, the team are healthy, and the rewards will come later. So it's just proof really that that business owners are the people that are making the sacrifices here as much as anybody else.
Yeah, and certainly in our community, in our business community across the Hutt Valley and the small and medium-sized businesses across the Wellington region, most of our community is privately owned, really, and even the large manufacturers. I was out with a large manufacturer last week, privately owned, but employing 150 staff or something. So still, the private ownership, it's a lot more than just investing at the beginning to get started, but you continuously invest in times of difficulty to keep your business operating and to keep your teams employed and to keep your customers served, because you're nothing without those parts of your business. Yeah. So pretty clear that confidence is low overall, isn't it? But the trend is more optimistic coming from a very low base if you go as far as 12 months out.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, some of the other information that we collected this last quarter was around COVID specifically. So things like I mentioned profitability. 60% are experiencing a decreased profitability at the moment. Over 50% have decreased their working hours, but 65% have retained the same number of full-time employees, and there are some, just 8%, who've actually increased.
Yes. Yeah. And that's certainly something we're starting to see now is a lot more recruitment, so a lot more hiring, and sectors that are experiencing growth, and surprising, I think, in the amount of that is occurring. I think if you'd asked me 3 months ago how much new recruitment there'd be in July, I would have instinctively thought it would be less than it has been. Now, again, very much specific to certain sectors, I think, but still it's showing very promising signs there. And one of the other things that came through. There you go, Helen.
No, go, Mark. That's fine.
I was going to say, in terms of the COVID data, one of the things that came through was that 47% of respondents had uncertainty around government policy and cited that as a major barrier to their recovery. It's really interesting that whilst the government's done some fantastic things and huge credit for the immediate responses and the wage subsidy initially, and just the speed at which action was taken, and we can't take anything away from that. What is showing now is that there's a lack of clear communication around what's next. And some of that's because we don't know, and the country doesn't know, and therefore the government doesn't know, and that's understandable. But I think there's a lack of messaging around that, around what is next, what is happening. And we normally experience a lack of uncertainty coming into an election period. It's interesting, we've got a double whammy right now. We've got a election cycles just starting to ramp up this week, plus this where to with the economy. So we've got some infrastructure projects, we've got some some shovel-ready stuff that's being talked about and is taking longer to get started than people would like. But I think there's a real need for more immediate clarity as to what's going on there.
Yeah, sure. And I think, to be fair as well, it's a matter of figuring out what is the right way to deliver that sort of support. And as you know, Mark, we've spent a lot of time last week and this week working with government to try and ensure that the businesses in our community get as much of the support that is available. And some of the mechanisms of the past may not be appropriate to just be plugged into COVID recovery. So I'd just like to let those who are watching this live stream know that the Chamber is working very hard with Hutt City Council and Upper Hutt City Council to engage with government almost daily to make sure that the support that is available, because it's substantial amounts of money, actually reach the businesses in our community who need that, and that we get a good share of that. So I think that's really important. The other thing I was going to add to that is the spend numbers. So I get to see spend numbers in the Hutt Valley each week, and the spend numbers across the Hutt Valley are strong. So each week we are tracking, and have been for many weeks now, well above where we were last year, and certainly in the Hutt Valley well above like Wellington City or other big CBD centres. So and there's some skews in that with school holidays and that, but the Hutt Valley spend is remaining pleasing. Actually, locals are supporting locals. It's a really important message around recovery.
It really is, and we're talking today about business confidence, and yet something we've been talking about a lot, Helen, you and I, has been consumer confidence. And so how important consumer confidence is right now, because if consumers are out there, as they are, spending money, it means that money's going to a local business, and that local business is using that money to keep their staff employed. And those staff employed are the very consumers that are going to then go and spend their money locally to keep another employer employed. And that cycle of kind of positive spinning upwards, rather than the clenching tight and holding on to that money, and keeping the rainy day fund as large as it can be, which would then create the exact opposite spiral. So it's really good and really pleasing to see that spend is continuing as it did when we sort of bounced out of COVID, the lockdown. We got a high spend, but it's carrying on, isn't it?
It certainly is carrying on, and certainly people are understanding this love local message and supporting their local privately owned businesses, like their local cafe and their local restaurant and their local retail store and the local people who are part of their community. What many people don't understand is it's that local businesses also support their local community with sports sponsorship, with a whole, supporting their schools. I know you sit on your school board. It's local business people who actually put a lot back into their local community because they understand the value of that. It's great to see local consumers now seeing the value local business provides to us all. That circular economy. We need good local businesses supporting other good local businesses, and consumers doing the same.
Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah. Excellent. So let's have a quick look at areas of difficulty going forward. So, Mark, on your page 3, sorry everybody, but areas of difficulty. So in terms of developing support programs going forward, which we're working on daily to make sure that we provide the right sort of support. The key areas of difficulty in business right now, not surprisingly, cash flow is the top one.
Yeah, cash is king, and that's never been more truer statement than right now. And I think it's going to be for lots of businesses. It's that cash flow in the next 2 to 3 months from here that's going to be really, really important as that second wage subsidy runs out. And so I think some of the real sharpness of some of the cash flow shock has been subdued by those subsidies. And for some businesses, it's just really keeping a really clear forecast for what that cash looks like once that subsidy is not there.
So good to see that finding new businesses right up there as well. So businesses have got their heads around the fact they actually need to go and find some new business. They need to change their operation, change up their service or their product or their pricing or whatever it is, their location, whatever, make change and go out and find some new business. Are you seeing that with your businesses that you work daily with, Mark?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that what's really important with us, and we were talking about it in the new members function at the Chamber earlier this week, that there's a real risk, and it's really important not to let the pessimism of our situation, the lack of confidence in our situation, become a self-fulfilling prophecy. Because there are plenty of people out there spending money right now. There are plenty of businesses spending money with other businesses. There are consumers spending money with businesses. So it's important that we all as business owners remember that and go out there and get it. If we spend too much time in front of the TV and spend too much time sitting in front of our computer reading stuff articles, it's very easy to believe, well, why should I even bother going out there and continuing to sell? Why should I bother adapting my marketing approach? Why should I bother even doing more of what I used to do? Because there's no money out there anyway. and that creates its own results. And I think the important message for everybody to remember is get out there and find work, because there's work out there to be found.
Yeah. And there's certainly many businesses that we're hearing from on a daily basis that have got a huge amount of work and are really busy. And, it's easy to point to our manufacturing sector, which we've got such a strong and vibrant and positive and inspiring manufacturing sector. I mean, they're just fabulous. And many of them are so busy right now. They've got orders like they've never seen. And, certainly that is a huge part to play in terms of our recovery, investing in that manufacturing sector, supporting it, getting young people into it, and employing people. I know there's so much growth to be had. And, a lot of that we sit in, we drive around our 2 cities, the 2 cities that we work with mostly, and those businesses are focused on sending stuff offshore. And you just look at some export figures recently, they're pretty spectacular. And, we've got a great story in terms of being COVID free and a strong economy, and we haven't got all the costs of compliance right now. That it makes us really competitive on the international stage.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. And the other big sector that's really showing some strength is the construction sector. It's really continuing to really thrive, and I think there's huge opportunities in that space for quite some time to come yet. I think there's some some medium-term risks in some commercial space, but in terms of a lot of that sector, there's a huge amount going on, and again, it's just recognising that whenever we look at one sector doing well, whether that's manufacturing or whether it's construction, those businesses are buying services from outside their sector. The accountants are doing well because they're working with the businesses in construction and manufacturing that are doing well, the software companies, and on. We can keep going on, right? So it's really just as hard as it might be if you are finding it hard right now. And remember that you might not be, and that's it. And that's actually something that's worth talking about. That if you're doing okay right now, or even if you're doing well right now, that's okay. Don't feel guilty. You've put the legwork in before COVID and during COVID and after COVID, and you're reaping the results for that. I've certainly seen some clients and some business owners that have been feeling like, oh, I don't want anybody to know. I don't want anybody to know that we're actually doing okay, that I need to hire for more staff, that our profits are up, because it's that tall poppy thing, right? We don't want to say we're doing well, and because no one's saying we're doing well, no one hears it, and we assume everybody's not doing well.
Yes,
that self-reinforcing negative behaviour. If you are doing well, tell other people in business. Let them know you're doing well, not to show off. Just remind them that certain parts of our economy are doing well. Overall, things are continuing to improve, and just keep that message. It's really critical.
So last week we worked on did some media last week to showcase a local business that's doing very well, and we will be doing more of that. Actually, we've got another one in the pipeline right now, actually, so to try and get some of those stories out in the mainstream media that there are businesses doing well, and we need to support them, because growth is painful and it's risky, and there's stress associated with growing your business, but we actually need to grow business now, and we need to support. I mean, there's lots of industries that are systemically damaged by COVID, but we've actually, and they need support as well, but we've also got to support those that are going to grow for the next 12 months, 5 years, whatever, and get some of those stories out, because that's where our future is, and it's really important to have employment for our young people, and have employment for our older people, and for just our mums and dads, and all sorts, and have hope too.
To reinforce that, it's important we don't just look at the Air New Zealand layoffs and kind of believe that's where things are for everybody. And there's two stats in this survey that I think are really telling. One of them is that we ask a question around what are your main difficulties, and that as we talk about that could be around finding your business, or that could be around cash flow. 30% of respondents said they had no difficulties at present. No difficulties at present. So that's a third, right? It's a third of our respondents are feeling that they've got no difficulties. So it's really important to see that that's in there, and that sort of supporting that number is that 64% didn't apply for the second wage subsidy. They're not quite the same side of the coin, but if you look at the opposites, so 2/3 didn't apply for the wage subsidy, and a third have got no challenges. So well, not no challenges, but no. They're saying they haven't got any difficulty. So 2/3 do, and it's a lot. But it's just, I guess there's some really interesting numbers in there saying that despite the feelings of uncertainty, they're not so bad that we need to get alarmed about every little thing that we hear about.
Yeah, sure. Can I just remind anyone who's listening this morning that if you've got any questions, please pop them in the comment stream, and we'll deal with them shortly when we look at what questions we've got. One of the other stats I wanted to pull out in terms of what support business wants going forward, and I think we saw this stat in action last week when we did our new members function at the Chamber. So the top thing that people want support with going forward is 35% want events that bring the business community together. Now, I thought we put that question in there, and I wanted to know what the answer was, because, of course, as a chamber, we do a lot of events. This is one. We've done something like, this must be about our 35th live stream since late March, and it's an online event, right? Never done one prior, and I know we must be about 15,000 people having viewed our live stream so far. The reach is amazing. And last week we started our first like in real life or in-person events, and we had a new members function, and we have more of those scheduled in August, not new member functions. We've got a Tech After 5 function scheduled in August, which is showcasing 3 fabulous technology companies who will share their COVID stories and their technology. And we have an event in Nainai to showcase some of the Nainai businesses that are out there and hidden away in Nainai that people don't understand. So, and don't know about, and so we want to give them some profile. So 35% of people want events that bring the business community together, and you could see it last week at our new members function, couldn't you, Mark?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, really, really good turnout and remarkable positivity in the room around their businesses and what's coming. And to be blunt, I think if you'd pulled me out of a time machine and whacked me into that room, not knowing that we'd been through COVID, I wouldn't know.
No.
Yeah, it wasn't a topic of conversation. It was just things were positive. It was really, really encouraging.
Yeah. People were really happy to be together. They were more jovial than normal, and they were just really appreciative of being able to meet in person as well and not feel scared about what communicable disease they might pick up. But they were really relaxed. They didn't know each other, which I thought, of course, being a new members function, they don't know each other. But there was such warmth and positivity and local support for each other.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's one of the things that's really encouraging, and that it's getting out and talking to other people in business. So seeing real people, real business owners, and sharing your experiences and learning and hearing theirs is really, really critical, because it's and again, if we look at that what we talked about at the start of this live stream, that the business confidence for the country is much lower than locally, which is much lower than for our own businesses. If we're only ever looking at national media, we're only ever seeing that context of the lowest possible confidence we could be experiencing. Whereas when we get local, we meet another business owner that's in Wellington, that's running their own business, we're going to see that different perspective. And I think it's really, really important that we don't isolate ourselves. And I enjoyed being a hermit during COVID, I've got to admit it. But it's really important to get back out there and start seeing people and seeing what's real rather than necessarily what is imaginary.
Yeah, absolutely. So and it's part of the work the Chamber does is to bring business people together, and we will be doing more of that. Well, we've always done it, and we'll continue to do more of that in the coming months as well. So I do encourage people to come along and register for events and come out and just give yourselves a break, give yourselves just a couple of hours to meet with other business people and learn some stuff, but also just to connect and get that local support. It's really lonely being a business owner at times. It can be very isolating. It's very tough on mental health, actually, and no one really wants to talk about that, but it's the reality, and we all deal with stress and anxiety at times, and it's been a very anxious time, and growth and dealing with the challenges of COVID-19 will be difficult. So can I encourage you to please register for events? You don't have to be a member of the Chamber to attend our events. You're welcome to come along. The fees are so low for our events. It's not a price thing at all. It shouldn't be. So that we'll be doing that. Then do want to let you know that we will be doing a business expo this year for the Wellington Region Business Expo. That will be in October. It will have a different format to the past, but it'll be a fabulous opportunity, a week-long festival of opportunity to engage with other business communities. So please keep an eye out for some of the information that's going to start coming out about that in the next couple of weeks as well. Okay, so let's wrap up, Mark, by looking at what some of the support that's out there around some funding from government, and I know you've done quite a lot of work in this space as well.
Yeah, we have. So one of the things that came out of the survey really backs us up, and it's that of the areas of support that people were looking for, 28% said that they wanted help developing strategy. That they weren't sure where to go and how to build that plan. And so one of the things that the government has done has been to increase the level of funding for what's called the Regional Business Partner Network. And really what that is it's a funding mechanism for business advisors of a number of different types to get out there and provide support to businesses to do just that. So they had released, I think it was $15 million very, very shortly after a lockdown to support businesses to get advice. And it was 100% funded advice from suppliers like accountants, marketing companies, business coaches like ourselves to work with somebody on the outside of the business to get some advice to move forwards. So we did quite a lot of that work over the last few months. Got some really, really good feedback and results from clients out there around just, again, having something on the outside to work through where to run through the numbers with them, to look at what the options are in the market, to help them assess their team. And I guess it's whether it's working with somebody like Red Hot or whether it's working for an accountant or a marketing, it's about just having somebody that's not you to be able to get you outside of your business and look at what are the options and then make choices and then act on those decisions. So rather than sitting paralyzed and I'm thinking about it, typically when you're working with an external partner, they're going to help you both to think about it but then make the decision to actually act on it. That navel gazing can be expensive in this environment. So making a choice, acting fast is really, really critical. And there's funding out there to do that. So the government's just released another $50 million in funding across New Zealand for this support. So it's out there. You can access it by reaching out to the chamber. The chamber will be able to point you in the right directions as to where maybe you could contact. There's only a number of registered providers in the Wellington region, so the chamber's going to have some contacts to put you to the right place. Of course, Red Hot. I'm going to selflessly plug ourselves, given that we're sponsors of the survey. We do a lot of this work. We do it day to day. We do it for all of our clients all the time. This is a mechanism for if you haven't ever thought about engaging a business coach like Red Hot, if you've thought about it, but if don't know if I want to take a punt financially, this is a good chance to dip your toes in the water and get some funding. Give us an email, give us a call. We can talk to you about how it works, put you in the right direction. There's no guarantees that every business is eligible for funding, and the local funding criteria has yet to be really made super clear, but there's certainly stuff out there for many businesses to get help with working through this COVID challenge.
Yeah, it's an excellent scheme. I mean, the administration can be a bit tough around it, but it is an excellent scheme. It's up to $5,000 worth of funding you can get for your business. I don't know if that's been confirmed for Wellington yet.
Yeah, so that's the official line. Our experience is that most businesses in the Wellington region have been getting sort of somewhere in 2.5. So it's really about spreading wider. And the idea is, I think, and quite rightly, trying to get the whilst it's a lot of money, it's still spread across a lot of people, and trying to get that spread across more people rather than less. So
that's really important, because I've been doing some stats on it, and the spread certainly needs to be much wider. So, but worth having, and having someone else look externally at your business. There are several suppliers across the region, so you don't have to have one particular supplier. So you've got some choice, and each one's got some different areas of expertise depending on what you need. So it's good to find out about that. Okay, so we should probably have a look and see if we've got any questions. If you've got any questions, then please pop them in the comment stream. We've got a really nice comment. Thank you, Karen, for your nice comment you've just put in there. We appreciate that. We've been doing these live streams mornings for months now, so and they do reach a lot of people, and we do get some lovely feedback. So, but we appreciate every positive comment, because it's always wondering what we can do best to help people. So they're provided free. Share them as widely as you can. They're for every single business. I know we actually get a lot of Auckland businesses watching our live streams. Certainly get a lot of Lower Hutt and Upper Hutt, which is what we're aiming for, but we get a lot of people from outside the region as well. I think that's just because we've done so many and we have such a variety. And we bring in so many local experts, which is a great thing, isn't it, Mark? We've got so many local experts, of whether you're wanting to digitise something in your business or you want to sort out your tax. So the local experts are amazing, and many of them I mean, someone said to me the other day, if you look around the COVID response team for this country, so the majority of them are sitting in the Hutt Valley, actually, might be working for government, but are sitting in the Hutt Valley. So our Minister of Health, our Minister of Education, our Director General of Health, all sorts of people, good Hutt Valley people. So, it's great to be able to bring you so many local experts. So, not sure if we've got any more questions coming through at the moment. Can't see any. If you've got any, Mark, I'll get you to pop your contact details in the comment stream as well. So if someone wants to, when they're watching this later on in the day, they can ask you questions as well. They can get in contact with you directly.
I have to work out how to do that, but I'll figure it out.
No, you don't have to. Yeah, cool. But later on. So Is there anything else you want to say in closing?
No, I think the only thing I'd like to put out there is just to acknowledge and recognise our local business community. The lack of a better word, the stoicism, the in some cases blind optimism, to just keep pushing forwards and keep looking after people, and to just get through this. I think the bit that, without exception, every business owner I've spoken to just sees this as a bump in the road. Now, it's a big bump in the road, and it was a bloody scary bump in the road, especially a few months ago. Yet there's very, very few, and I can't point to a single person I've spoken to that's seen this as a fatal incident. It's just, we're going to get through this, and it's going to be hard for an undefined period of time, but we're going to get through this. And they've said to themselves, the team, the staff, the market.
And even those that have closed, even those businesses that have closed, those business people and those skills haven't closed, they will re-emerge in some other form. I had an email from a member who resigned their chamber membership yesterday, and I think it was he's closed his business, but he told me about what he was going to do next, and it was still in business. It wasn't his own business, but he'd still be adding value. So, certainly we're seeing businesses closing, and that's to be expected. But those business people will re-emerge. And another little story, actually, I thought, based on what you just said, Mark, I was sitting in a cafe the other day waiting for my food, and I spoke to this woman. She's an employee of a local business, and she just sat there and said, I am so lucky to be employed by, and I won't tell you which company it was. She said, he's such a fabulous boss. He has looked after us so well. I know that owner has given them bonuses because they've worked so hard through level 4 and level 3 and that sort of thing. And she goes, I'm just so lucky to have my job and have such a fabulous boss. And I said to her, well, I know that boss really well, and he doesn't have to do those things. They are well and above law, and they're more than he's legally obliged to do, and it's just generosity and appreciation. And it's so nice to bump into an employee who says that about their local boss, local owner. And there's lots of that. So I couldn't be prouder of the business community in the Hutt Valley, both up Hutt and lower. Yeah, cool. Okay, so thank you everyone for joining us this morning. Mark, thank you for being our bronze partner for so many years. I know you're so close. I mean, you're my boss and president of the chamber and that, but thank you for your financial support of the chamber. We all know that the chamber needs that financial support at times. We appreciate all our partners, trying to do a lot more work for our partners. Currently met with 2 yesterday, and we appreciate your ongoing financial support of the chamber. If you are a business owner watching this live stream and you're not engaged with us as the Hutt Valley Chamber of Commerce, please do reach out to us. Please do look at joining and supporting our work so we can continue to support the business community to reset and recover through COVID-19. So
I'd really like to stress that, Helen. So if I put my chamber president hat on rather than my red hot hat on, just to really want everyone to recognise how much Helen and the team do to support everyone in our region and in our valley. That we may not see a direct response or return on your chamber membership investment this month into your business directly, but I can promise you, from what I'm seeing, you're getting a return from the amount of hours and work that goes in behind the scenes in local government and national government, and working with large employers and working with infrastructure doing the things to help all of our businesses to not just recover but continue to grow and thrive. That tiny little investment you make each month in your monthly membership fee to the chamber, it allows us to exist. It allows us to hire our team to get out there and do the work that supports us all on an ongoing basis. And so just thank you for those of you that are chamber members. That small contribution makes a huge difference to the whole community. And if you aren't yet a chamber member, chop up $20-30 a month. You don't understand how big a difference it makes to being out there and get to do these things. If we didn't have a chamber, it'd be a very different business community environment. Sorry, very, very different business environment out there, because there would be no voice for you. There'd be nobody advocating for you. There'd be nobody making sure that you really were being represented from the perspective of people that understand it, people that have been in business for themselves and they get it. So Helen has been, I am, thank you.
Yeah, we do it absolutely every single day. You know, whether it's on transport, whether it's on funding for COVID recovery, whether it's on cycleways or on pedestrian access from Melling across to Hutt City, whether it's about River Road, whether it's about getting young people into work. It's all about making sure our business community has a really loud voice, and we do it relentlessly every single day. We're even getting stuff in the media to make sure people understand the fabulous businesses we've got here in the Hutt Valley and what we contribute as a community. Okay, so thank you very much for joining us this morning. Thank you, Mark, for your input and contribution around this confidence survey and for the discussion, which is great. Look forward to seeing you all in a in-person event, hopefully our Tech After 5 in August, or our Shop 9i event in August as well. There are others as well, so please check out our website. Thanks very much and have a great day.
Thanks, Al.
Cheers. See you, Mark.